Hey, what's up, my people? This is LAMU-THE, and of course, I'm your humble host, Mehdi, and I'm back with some interesting facts about the magical Lamu. Now, did you know the famous story about our founding father, His Excellency the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, bringing people in a lorry to Lamu County? It was not the first time people were brought to Lamu, or he was not the first person to bring people to Lamu County. You didn't know that. Another thing, have you sat down and asked yourself, what's the origin of the word MPEKETONI? No, you don't. Let me tell you something. It's going to be interesting. This video is going to be interesting, so stay tuned and learn more. Hey, probably hope you have not gone back and googled the origin of the word MPEKETONI. No, don't do that. Anyway, you can still do that. Now, let me give you maybe what some articles on the internet tell you the origin of the word MPEKETONI, and then I'll give you the real fact. Now, remember, in this video, facts have no feeling, so you get to listen to the facts and you decide for yourself whether I will stay with the facts or maybe I'll remain with the rumors. Now, listen. According to the articles that are in the internet, they will tell you the word MPEKETONI is a combination of two words. That is MPEKETONI. MPEKETONI. Now, when people are coming out of the bus, of the lorry, they say that people were used to be given a carton that had some equipment within. So when they were given MPEKETONI, and then they say MPEKETONI. When you sit down with your two senses and with your six senses and your seventh senses, you realize, oh, this thing or this information sounds like a scam. Let me give you the real thing. Now, this is what happened. The origin of the word MPEKETONI comes from a Swahili word called mpeketo. Now, mpeketo is a Swahili word for a tree. Now, this tree, MPEKETO tree, if you don't know it, when you come to coast, if you're not from coast, when you come to coast here in Kenya, you will find, you will be told that people use a certain kind of a stick, a small stick, when they are cooking porridge, uji in Kiswahili. When they are cooking porridge, that stick, then they used to do it. That stick is called MPEKETO. That stick comes from a tree now called MPEKETO. Now, when they are doing that, when they are cooking porridge, that stick they are using is called MPEKETO. Now, so this tree called MPEKETO used to be, it's said it used to be near Lake Kenyatta Primary School. That's where actually the stage was. That's the first location of the stage in MPEKETONI town. That's the first location of the stage in near Lake Kenyatta Primary School. That's where the tree MPEKETO used to be. Now, it was a big tree. So when buses used to come, the first and the second lorry, when they came, all people were dropped at that stage. That stage was near the MPEKETO tree. The MPEKETO tree was near Lake Kenyatta Primary School. So every time people were going down, that's where they drop pale kwa MPEKETO. Hey, then unashira pi MPEKETONI. That's where the whole word MPEKETONI came from. I know you didn't know that. Now, let me tell you something. The first time when people are being moved from the other part of the country to Lamu County, it happened during 1950s towards 1960. This time, it actually when it was during the British colonial period and Kenya had not gained their independence. Now, during this time, 1952, to be exact time, it was between 1952 towards 1954. That's the period when Kenya actually had declared itself as a state of emergency, and that's when the British people, the British colonials, that's when they did the movement of people from other parts of the country to Lamu County. Now, the first people who were brought, they were not majorly Kikuyus, most are Kikuyus, but they were mixed. Some were Jaluo, some were Luya, and some other tribes that are found in Kenya. That's what they were a mixture of people when they were brought the first time. Now, The second time it happened is now when Kenya had gained independence, and it's now around the 1970s towards 1980s. That's when now the second time it happened. Now, you know the story where Kenyatta came. They say the Kenyatta came and asked the people, you know what, you know. Then Kenyatta took a lorry full of people. Now, let me tell you now the background of the story. The second time it was happening, this is what happened. Those people who were being brought to Lamu County, there were many of them were Kikuyus. But many of those Kikuyus, some of them, let me say, some of those Kikuyus used to stay in Tanzania. Now remember, the East African community, when it collapsed during 1970s to 1980s, that's when there was a collapse, the big collapse of the East African community. That's when it collapsed. And the major reasons of this collapsing is because, you know, they say Kenya was demanding more decision-making seats, and Tanzania, they were like, no, if you want the seats, we also want the seats. And Kenya was like, oh, okay, if we can't have the seats, then let the whole thing collapse. So the whole, you know, the whole melee collapsed. And then the president of the government of Tanzania said at that time, if there are any Kenyans here, let them go back to their own country. Now, when all this was happening, that's when now the president of Kenya was still giving out land to people. So I know this because my grandmother and my grandfather used to stay in Tanzania. You know, I think that's where I get my looks. So my grandmother and my grandfather used to stay in Tanzania. So this information is passed down to us now as children. Now, when they were living there and the government there decided to tell the people of Kenya to go back to their country, and those people who are there, they were like, there's a land that is being given out for free in Kenya. So my grandmother and my grandparents came back to Kenya, and to be specific, they stayed in a place in Kiambu County. And that's where the whole gathering of people to be put in a lorry, that's where it all happened there. And then they came back to Lamu County. They were brought. Now that's the famous story, you know. They were brought. All this initiative was initiated by His Excellency, the founding father, the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, and people arrived. And guess what? When they all came, they stopped at that stage I told you about, Mpeketo tree. The stage that was near Mpeketo tree. The Mpeketo tree was near the Lake Kenyatta Primary School. And now they've arrived, and people decided to settle in different parts, different regions. Mpeketoni, Kibaoni, Hongwe, you know, all these regions began to be occupied, and people took for themselves shamba for themselves. And you know, this is a free thing, you know. So they were given a new, and those lands were given title deeds. Most people in Mpeketoni, those lands have their own deeds. I say that because even the land that my grandparents took has a title deed. So I'll not tell you where it is. I'll not tell you where it is. Anyway, so after people now had settled down, people occupied their land, and there's one good thing with people of Mpeketoni. Now, people of Mpeketoni, traditionally, they are farmers. They do a lot of farming. Now, and the people of Lamu, the people who we found them here in Lamu County, the Swahili people, most of them, they are fishermen. So for them, they used to stay in the island of Lamu, in some other islands in Lamu, that like Faza, like Pate, like Amu Island, you know, they used to stay in those islands because of the fishing. Now, this other region in Lamu County was not fully occupied. There was a lot of land, and the whole region was like a forest. Maybe there were some small regions that were being occupied by people, maybe in Kunumbi. There were some small people, Swahili people, used to occupy those lands. Even in Mpeketoni, there are some Swahili people used to occupy that land, but there were very few. Most of them used to stay in the island part. Now, afterwards, people have occupied and everything is going on well. Now, the Kikuyu people now, they are supporting the Lamu County. Remember, these people, they came here as people who were given land, people who had nowhere to settle. Now, these are the kind of people who are contributing to the economy of Lamu County. Since I've told you that they are traditionally farmers, and therefore most of the agricultural products are being consumed within the Lamu County. And I remember there are several incidents that happen, even other county like Malindi or Mombasa, they come to Lamu County to take some agricultural products for their own, for business sake. So if these people are coming here, they're supporting economically, and right now, they have come to Lamu County. Now they have multiplied, they have become so many here in Lamu County. According to the statistics, the recent statistics, they will tell you that the MPEKETONI people are many in number compared to the Swahilis in all the islands found in Lamu County. They have become so many. And now, these people who came to Lamu, who had no land, who were like new people to Lamu County, now they have a dream that maybe in the next 2027, maybe they will rise for themselves a governor. Well, it's a dream, we'll sit down and see if it will come to pass. Now, that's how the region of MPEKETONI has developed so far. They are contributing a lot economically. There are many in number. Several government offices are actually located right now in Lamu, in MPEKETONI region. So MPEKETONI is growing so fast for business, for economy, and for every kind of industrial development that is needed. Those people are ready for anything. Now, this is the whole story of the Lamu County, of the rise of the MPEKETONI people. This has been your host, Mehdi. And remember, this is the second episode of the Magical Lamu series. If you have not watched the first episode of the Magical Lamu series, it was the history of Lamu Fort Museum. Go back and watch. More interesting things you will learn from there. So thank you. If you have not subscribed to our channel, kindly subscribe, like, and share. If you're a returning subscriber, of course, thank you. We love you. And remember, everyone, at the end of the video, remember to like, share, and comment. And please, at the comment section, tell us what you did know, what you didn't know, and your other reactions about the video and what you think you need to do next. We will appreciate. Thank you. Stay tuned.